Senate President Tito Sotto is speaking right now.
Also, walang ganun eh.
Pero
So the proper courts would be the proper venue.
sir, matagal na kayo sa politics. Pwede ba talaga na i-revoke ang grant na amnesty sa isang rebel?
It is within the power of the president.
So walang abuse, pag-abuse sa pag-exercise ng power? May concurrence dapat ng cover.
Sabi ba?
May concurrence dapat dito.
Walang nakalagay sa konstitusyon na ganun.
So yun sa pagbawi, silence.
Oo, silent. Sa pagbawi, wala. Even sa agreement sa treaties, wala rin. Silent din eh.
Pero sir, yung pagkuha nyo ng custody, sabi kasi ni Senator Trillanes, he is under your custody. Yung
Yes, parang he has turned over his person to the Senate President.
And then, sir, yung inyong directive na huwag siyang arrestin dito, ibig sabihin mo ba you agree na questionable yung pagpapa-arrest sa kanya, sir?
Hindi ganun yun. I'd rather be neutral in that respect. Who am I to judge whether there is legal basis or not?
There are warrantless arrest, sir. So, sir,
Kaya nga, I cannot be a judge of that. The proper courts will be the judge of that.
sir, sorry, pa-clarify lang po. So, bakit, sir, bakit yung pinostody si Senator?
No, it's not precisely taking custody. No, that is how it eventually na lumalabas na ganoon. Pero ang sinasabi ko, yung order is a senator cannot be arrested within the Senate premises. So if Senator Trillanes wants to remain in the Senate premises, then the instructions to the Sergeant at Arms is that he cannot be arrested.
Pero whether the session, the Congress is in session or not in session, hindi siya pasukin ito.
Oo.
So you expect the PNP po to respect the Senate building?
I think so.
Building itself?
I think so.
Na pumasok.
I think so.
Hindi kayo
to use the Senate as refuge, sir.
As a what?
refuge.
Alam mo, you're looking at it as a glass half empty. Hindi ganun eh. Basta the situation is simply we cannot allow a senator to be arrested in the Senate premises. Pwedeng, kung gusto, unless the senator voluntarily goes with it, like in the case of Senator De Lima before. Nandito siya, hindi naman siya inaresto eh. Nung lumabas siya, umuwi siya muna, pinayagan siya umuwi muna, at para kumuha ng gamit, at tapos doon siya inaresto.
Practically, sir, sanctuary itong Senate for Senator Trillanes.
Well, you can look at it that way. Ganun ang tingin ng iba. But as I said, no, very specific yung sinabi ko.
Pero sir, na-coordinate na yun properly sa mga authorities na nandito sa arresting him?
Well, you better ask the Sergeant at Arms. The instructions that I gave him was very explicit.
Dapat pala, sir, nagawa din ni De Lima yun.
Ginawa niya. Ginawa niya for a night. For the night, yeah.
Pero sir, hindi naman to attack, sir, against the Senate as an institution kasi nga pangalan senador siya.
No, not at all. No, I don't think so. Not at all.
So
Merong mga prerogatives ang executive eh. May mga prerogatives ang legislative. No? So we're just exercising, we are just exercising our prerogatives. The President is exercising his prerogative. The Senate also is exercising its
Sir, kung
prerogative.
mag-decide si Trillanes na umalis ng Senate building, wala na kayong jurisdiction doon?
Siyempre, wala na kaming ano doon. It's no longer our concern.
So clarification lang, when you said that the President has the power to remove amnesty, bakit hindi nasabi?
It's within his power.
Wala po kasi
As the President.
Hindi po kasi yung Constitution.
Better they ask the courts about that, but definitely it's within his power.
Pero definitely, sir, sa tagal na sir ng mga babatas, ito yung first time na may nare-revoke na amnesty.
I'm not sure. Ang institutional memory ko is as far as the Senate is concerned.
Pero wala kayo nare-recall pa, sir?
Wala pang nare-recall. I don't know, I'm not sure.
Pero considering na siya from the minority at critic ng administration, do you think it has something to do sa pagiging opposition, sir?
I'd rather not venture into speculation.
So bakit hindi niya na lang siya pinayuhan na mag-yield sa authorities, surrender?
Yeah, we can't. We leave it up to the senator to decide.
So magkukokus pa kayo about sir, lahat ng senador?
Yeah, lahat.
So habang nandito, allowed siya mag-attend ng lahat ng activities.
Habang nandito siya sa Senate premises. Pero pag-uusapan na namin yung maaaring maging mga limitations.
Limitation.
Okay?
All right, Tito Sotto, the Senate President, confirming, first of all, that Senator Trillanes has, quote, turned over his person to the Senate President. Parang ganoon. That's the exact quote that we got from Tito Sotto. And Sotto, as Senate President, emphasizing that a senator, he kept repeating this, the senator cannot be arrested in Senate premises. So he says that if Senator Trillanes chooses to remain in the Senate, Senator Sotto's, the Senate President's very explicit instructions to the Senate Sergeant at Arms is that no arrests can happen within the premises of the Senate. We're all aware, of course, and we've seen that video a few hours ago, members of the PNP Criminal Investigation and Detection Group waiting just outside the lobby entrance of the Senate. Now, Senator Sotto, the Senate President, explaining, unless, of course, as Senator Laila de Lima did, the Senator will voluntarily go with the arresting authorities. He was also asked, Senator Sotto was also asked if this will make the Senate practically a quote-unquote sanctuary for Senator Trillanes. So there we have it, Senator Sotto confirming custody of Senator Trillanes and what appears to be already a position of the Senate that Senator Trillanes, no senator can be arrested within the Senate premises, and that is that were the Senate President's instructions to the Senate Sergeant at Arms. We're going to go back to Professor Tony Lavinia. Professor Lavinia?
Yes.
Yes. Well, did you hear what Senator Sotto was saying?
Yes.
It is within the power of the President. At wala naman doon nakalagay sa Constitution na doon sa mga rules on yung pagbabawi ng amnesty.
No, I mean, no, I would have to disagree with that. I mean, obviously, if there are conditions to an amnesty, that the President would have the power with respect to that condition. But precisely the point I'm trying to make is that the facts here does not show that at all. And what the President does not have a power to revoke the amnesty granted by another President unless he's able to show that that President acted illegally or acted wrongly, and that's not the case here.
Professor Lavinia also, he said that they will not allow an arrest of any senator within Senate premises. The Senate
right
President
there.
saying that yung explicit instructions niya sa Sergeant at Arms, yun na nga, no, na walang mangyayaring pag-aresto. Except that if any senator who, well, in this case, Senator Trillanes will choose to go with the arresting authority. So tama yun.
That's right. That's right. I mean, and I'm appreciative of that because I'm actually not sure whether Senator Pimentel did the same thing with Senator Laila, whether Senator Laila had that option at all. Of course, she was not arrested in the Senate, but that was her choice. But I'm not sure that she was given the option of actually staying in the Senate.
Well, binanggit naman ni Senator Sotto si Laila de Lima, and he was saying that at first she had chosen to stay in the Senate, and then umuwi muna siya, kumuha ng gamit, saka na siya dinala sa krame. Pero hindi siya inaresto sa loob ng Senado.
I think by the time she had already decided to be arrested, so they negotiated that part where she goes home first.
Okay.
But I don't know. I honestly don't know whether she had the option actually of staying in the Senate. Here, Senator Sotto is very explicit that if Senator Trillanes decides to stay in the Senate, he will not be arrested. That's comforting as from my point of view. I mean, precisely because of the fact that this is a political act and not a legal act.
Yeah. Professor Lavinia, in the case of Senator Trillanes, like we all presume, hindi po ba, kapag may arrest, when there is going to be an arrest, there has to be a warrant. Although there is such a thing as warrantless arrest, but that's another.
No, it's a warrantless arrest for he's not committing mutiny now. There can be no
Walang
basis for a
inflagrante.
warrantless arrest.
Yeah, oo. So, pero ang pinag-uusapan, and this is something I'm going to ask our justice correspondent in a while, Anjo Alimario, he's waiting on the line, dahil may balita that Justice Department prosecutors are asking or are trying to get an alias warrant for Trillanes.
Well, they have to file a case first. Diba?
Hindi po ba pwedeng...
Senator Trillanes is now a civilian. Noon, hinuli siya. Kasi he was allegedly committing an act of mutiny while he was still in the active service.
Okay.
So military law applied to him, di ba?
Yeah.
Basically, court-martial yun and everything.
Oo. Well, a while ago, there was a Defense Department press conference, and one of them, si Attorney Ronald Rubin, was explaining, and we quote, ab initio, quote-unquote, as if he was never granted amnesty, and then, quote, bumabalik siya sa status niya before the amnesty.
No,
Pwede po ba yun?
No, ibig sabihin, active service na naman siya ngayon. Come on. Diba, how ridiculous is that argument? Senator Trillanes already retired from the military. He now has to be arrested in accordance with civilian rules.
Yeah. Hindi pwede ba nilang kumbaga i-resurrect ang dati niyang kaso? Because there was
yes, but not under military court. Kasi military will
civilian,
no longer have...
Oo, kung civilian court pwede, kung kaso.
Yeah. Hindi na siya military officer.
Okay. But and right now, so because what the DND is saying, he returns to his status before the amnesty, and you're saying hindi pwede yun.
That's ridiculous. Are you saying now, Pia, that Senator Trillanes is now back as captain or whatever rank he was? That is so ridiculous. It doesn't meet any kind of logical bar, di ba? Factual bar.
Yeah. Well, that was
the military. He absolutely no jurisdiction over him, di ba?
Well, that was
so the
what was...
military cannot arrest him. You can only be arrested by the military in the military context of military courts if you are a member of the military.
Okay.
Period.
And therefore, what happens to that order that the PNP and or the AFP can arrest him?
Cannot.
They cannot
arrest him.
Even the
That's
AFP cannot arrest.
Ab initio order.
Okay. Well, of course, this was the quote I read a while ago was said in the Defense Department briefing. And ang nandoon kasi kanina, si Colonel Edgar Arevalo, spokesman for the Armed Forces, si Arsenio Andalong, spokesman for the Department of National Defense, and itong Attorney Ronald Rubin, and that's what they were saying. As if he was never granted amnesty, and that, quote-unquote, bumabalik siya sa status
Walang problema yung as if he were never granted amnesty. But he has already retired from the military. They have no jurisdiction over him.
Okay. And you're saying...
That's a different point entirely. Diba? As if he was never granted, that's fine. But it doesn't mean that life frozen, di ba?
Yeah, okay.
The reason, di ba, basic lang yan, if you mutiny and you're a soldier, you're subject to the military rule. You can be arrested under military rules, di ba? Under a military court, and the trial will be under the military. If you're a civilian, that is no longer the case. Di ba?
Yes, okay.
Because in fact, you will have to be, di ba, under the military system, because you're military, part of your punishment is actually your discharge, di ba? Your dishonorable discharge,
Yes.
or imprisonment, whatever. All of those things we can be charged against you. But that is no longer the case when you're no longer a soldier.
Okay. All right. Well, Professor Lavinia, anything else you'd like to add before we let you go?
Well, I just want to say that this is very blatantly an attack against the opposition and against the critics of the president. It doesn't augur very well for democracy. The consequences, the long-term consequences as well to negotiations with all sorts of revolutionary movements, rebel groups, are endangered because of this act, which is very arbitrary, in my view.
Professor Tony Lavinia, thank you, sir, very much for being with us this afternoon.